things first, and we're going viral. Joel Embiid, he had a solid performance last night, scoring 17 points in a win over the Knicks. Now, famous for his use of social media, Embiid got some advice from the original Isaiah Thomas last night. Let's take a listen.
Thank you.
Don't use the burner account.
I don't have any burner accounts. When I want to say something, I say it through my actual account because I'm a savage. I'm a savage. I don't care.
He sounds so innocent with his accent. Good advice, guys?
Man, Joel Embiid, I'm telling you, he's like a national treasure.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like, we fell in love with Shaq. Shaq was one of the one giant that people love. Now we got Joel Embiid. Like, he keeps it nice and spicy. He is a savage. He's a great follow.
And by the way, shots fired at KD from Zeke. Like, that's Zeke taking, I love that. Way to go, Zeke. Zeke hasn't been back here in a couple months. We need you back, original Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, we need him maybe to check the other Isaiah Thomas.
Absolutely right.
idea
Absolutely right. By the way, people are going to start realizing that Isaiah Thomas spelled his name right, and the new Isaiah Thomas spelled it wrong.
I'm in on that check. All right, time now for some stories to start your morning. The Packers, they've got the toughest schedule for 2018 based on their opponents' combined record. The Green Bay went 7-9 last year. Aaron Rodgers missed 9 of those games. Nick Wright, can the Packers have a bounce-back year in 2018?
Absolutely. The Packers have made the playoffs every year since Aaron Rodgers, after Aaron Rodgers' first year as a starter, until last year, where he missed over half the season. And by the way, they were still alive at least when he came back. So yeah, barring another injury, I would expect the Packers to be back in contention. If they participate more in free agency, as you know I want them to do, that's not my money, so go spend it, then I think they could be one of the favorites, because they do have the best player in the NFL in Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and I still believe Jordy Nelson is a star. This is a huge year for him. But as Nick said, they've made some changes in the front office. We need to see how this equates to bring in different players. They have to change the system in Green Bay. They don't participate in free agency, and they try to rely on a lot of homegrown talent, just participating in the draft and trying to groom guys. It is not enough to keep pace with the other teams in the NFC.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers deserves that. Moving on to the Vikings quarterback situation. Now, their new offensive coordinator, well, he says he will not leave any stone unturned when it comes to his quarterback, Chris Carter. You're the Minnesota Vikings guy. So what does the future hold for Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater, and Sam Bradford?
Well, this is what I know. And talking to people in the Vikings when they ended the season, and also last week's Super Bowl, seeing people there, their mindset was trying to bring Case back and trying to bring Teddy back. But now they got a different voice in the room. So I might change my opinion of this. I believe that Kirk Cousins, because this team is ready, Kirk Cousins might be a real possibility. If you look at the options as far as signing Chase, what it might take to sign Chase. Case, man, my goodness, thank you. I got
about that money. You think about that Chase bank money.
When I was in Philadelphia in an NFC Championship, I got a case of the cases. And I'll explain that later on. But Case might get more money. Like, other people might want him. So you have to look at Kirk Cousins. I know internally they really like the leadership skills of Teddy Bridgewater.
It's a weird spot with the 3 guys on the roster. I think Kirk is interesting. It would be a departure for them because you're talking $30 million per year. When you saw what Garoppolo made, Cousins going to make that plus a little bit. Teddy's of the 3 quarterbacks, Teddy's the one I'm most confident will be on the roster next year. But also of the 3 quarterbacks, he's the one I think least likely to be the week 1 starter. I think if they don't get Kirk, 2 of those 3 will be back. I think Teddy is almost assured to be one of those 2.
Right.
But I think whether it's Bradford or Case, either of those guys is more likely to be the starter than Teddy is in week 1. Now we'll see how training camp goes. But I think Teddy will be back.
All right. Now moving on to the NBA. Anthony Davis, he had a strong performance last night, scored 38 points and got 10 rebounds in the win over the Pistons. The Pelicans currently sitting at the 8th seed at 30-26. Nick Wright, can Anthony Davis put the Pelicans in the playoffs?
I think he can. It was a good win for them last night. Another tough loss for Detroit, a team trying to get the 8th seed in the other conference. But you got to look at who's chasing New Orleans. I know New Orleans no longer has Boogie Cousins, but the Clippers are chasing New Orleans. The Clippers did not get better at the trade deadline. Utah is chasing New Orleans. Now, Utah's the hottest team in the league. They've won 10 in a row. But they also just got rid of their point guard. They are not, I'm sorry, they got rid of their shooting guard, Rodney Hood. They are not, I don't think, equipped to do this long term. So who else is going to catch them? I don't see anyone else catching them. They've got a top 6 player in Anthony Davis. So yes, I think they can get to the playoffs.
Unfortunate for the Pelicans, they were rolling. Like, we had never seen the combination of Boogie and the Brown. And the way they were playing basketball, like, we really got robbed. And imagine them as the 7th or 8th seed, what it was going to do to the pairings in the West. I do believe they do have enough. You make a great point as far as the teams chasing them. They're playing good enough, but the teams chasing them, they didn't get any better. You talked to the Clippers. They were in kind of a sell mode. They didn't get rid of the center.
Williams and DeAndre Jordan, but they did get rid of Blake Griffin.
Yes.
And the Jazz, while, they did get rid of Rodney Hood, and neither of those. So those teams are going to be worse in the final 30
At
games.
least the teams didn't think that they were going to make it. Those
Exactly
other two teams,
right.
based on those moves.
All right, guys. Finally, Cavs and Thunder are going to score off tonight. Both Rodney Hood and George Hill, Larry Nance Jr., and Jordan Clarkson, they make up this new-look Cavs, right? They scored 49 points Sunday against the Celtics. Chris Carter, what do you expect to see, and what will be their second performance?
This is going to be interesting because that first, the euphoria of getting there. They had to practice in Atlanta after the Atlanta game. They travel up to Boston, playing a Sunday afternoon game. Great atmosphere. Like, if you followed it, the noise that was surrounding. This was not a regular season game. Right. Honoring Paul Pierce, all the other Celtics legends being in attendance. Now you're just in a normal regular season game, in OKC. How do they respond to that? And I just believe with the time, like, they will respond well. LeBron will get them acclimated. LeBron will be the focal point, not necessarily scoring, but distributing the basketball. The Cavs have decided the best team that they had was when LeBron was playing at the 4, but being the major distributor of the basketball. That's what this trade accomplished. It gave them younger legs, but it got them back to when they won, 18 out of 20?
18 out of 19.
18 out of 19. LeBron was the focal point of the offense, distributing the basketball. So that's what I think we'll see more of.
So I want to tell the audience something. Yesterday after the show, Chris and I have these little impromptu meetings after the show sometime. Chris, we go over things, but also Chris is obviously more the television veteran, the pro, and he gives me pointers on things he thinks I can do better. And so we're walking from this building to the next building next door. He's like, Nick, when we're talking about the Cavs, he's like, I think it'd be good for the audience if sometimes you sprinkle around some of the credit. Like, hey, these other players, they're good players, and you're making it all about LeBron. And I thought about that, and I went overnight. I was like, I thought about it, and I was like, I knew we were going to talk about this today. So what can I say about the other players? LeBron's going to put them in a great position to win Chris Carter. Like, listen, I dug into the numbers. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it,
yeah.
and then I thought about the history. Yeah. I remembered 3 years ago when the Cavs. I thought about 3 years ago when the Cavs traded for Iman Shumpert, J.R. Smith, and Timothy Mozgov, and all of a sudden those 3 players play the best basketball of their lives. I thought about 2 years ago when everyone thought Channing Frye was done as an NBA player, and he went to the Cavs, and he had a resurgence.
But you talked about him then.
I talked about them then, and I'm going to give these guys credit, but I also dug into the numbers. One of the reasons the Cavs were able to hit shots at the efficiency they were in that initial game, how about this? Those new players generated 9 open threes. 9 threes they took without a single player within 4 feet of them. Those are wide open threes.
Incredible.
Every single one of those threes was off a pass from who? LeBron James. What these guys are going to see is their job is easier than it's been. And unlike Isaiah Thomas, who's playing for a contract and really to prove himself, his hierarchy in the league. Unlike Jay Crowder, who understandably, by the way, had been angry for a year and a half. Jay Crowder was mad in Boston when the fans were chanting for Gordon Hayward. He was probably mad that he signed his contract a year early and cost himself $30 million by missing out on the huge windfall from the summer 2 years ago. They have guys who are thrilled to be where they are, and now they have back-to-back marquee games. You play national TV against the Celtics. Now you go play one of the best teams in the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I expect all of those guys, knowing their role, revolving around what LeBron's going to do, to play well.
Tiny quick question, Nick.
Yeah.
If LeBron gets 4 young, healthy guys that can't shoot, does he put them in the best position?
Well, no, that's you don't want to put guys that can't shoot around LeBron.
Okay, just wondering.
The whole point of it
so
is.
they do get credit for being able to shoot the ball.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You got to do a few things well in the NBA,
All right.
and if you want to find the best guy to pair with him, it's guys who can shoot. Cece, I tried. I thought about it. I looked into it. I couldn't do it for you, bro.
Thank you for your help.
No.
I tried. Co-counsel. Moving on. Now, the guys that the Cavs shipped out of town. Isaiah Thomas. Well, he's now in his 5th team of his career, 3rd team in less than a year, in fact. Isaiah Thomas had a solid debut, though, for the Lakers, scoring 22 points coming off the bench. However, he's not done still talking about the Cavs, who famously don't do a whole lot of practice, apparently. Take a listen.
This was the first real practice I had all year. So, like, we'll see how my hip responds tomorrow with the soreness and things like that. But I'm here. I'm here, and I'm happy, and got my joy back, and I'm ready to put on a show for the Lakers.
Nick, are you surprised to hear Isaiah still talking and focused on the Lakers?
On the
Cavs. The Cavs, excuse me.
No,
I guess I was thinking.
no, I'm not surprised.
We need him focused on
the Lakers, right?
This is IT's history. IT, when he got to the Celtics, not only talked about Phoenix, but talked about Sacramento. Like, certainly when he was in Phoenix, he talked about what went wrong in Sacramento. When he got to Boston, he talked about what went wrong in both places. When he got to Cleveland, we were very understandable at this one, talked about the emotional trauma of being traded from a team where he thought he had finally found a home. And now, less than a year in, he's traded once again. But because I do root for Isaiah Thomas. He is an amazing story. And anyone that size that accomplishes what he has accomplished in this league, the work ethic and determination is off the charts. So I want him to be successful. So I hope someone who has his ear can get to him and be like, hey, man, you cannot control when your hip gets better. You can control how much damage you do to what your next contract will be with your commentary. And when your comments with the Cavs is one of the reasons you got dealt, and then your comments with the Lakers were not, at least your agent's comments initially were not great when it was IT will not come off the bench. He needs to be the best teammate, best soldier possible. I hope we don't hear any more commentary or little shade towards his former teams, and he's all Lakers all the time moving forward.
Yeah. Well, let's just go level set. So a lot of NBA teams don't practice a lot. They don't have a lot of time to practice. Now, the Cavs, when IT was on their team, they were the oldest team in the NBA. So not only have they played extended seasons the last several years, but this is the oldest team. So when you have the oldest team, you're going to practice a little bit less. Practice meaning running. That means you're walking through stuff. They just aren't running. Let's also go back to the regular season. They've had a bunch of guys hurt. LeBron, opening night against Boston, he was questionable with his ankle injury from the second day of training camp.
Right.
So they missed all training camp together. It's February the 12th yesterday. IT, he didn't know if his hip will respond even to a full practice. So even if Ty Lue and them had a full practice, he couldn't have done it because his hip. He gave that up to us. So I just said he's not necessarily throwing shade at Cleveland. The reality is these are two different teams. The Lakers are a very young team. They need as much practice to get in sync as possible. Right now, they're the 11th in the standings as far as playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs. So IT is right. He needs to stay there and practice, see how his hip feels tomorrow, and moving forward, let's commentate about what the Lakers are doing. This is a young team that can utilize your leadership, if you could show some leadership. And it's not about Cleveland and what happened there. All these things are in your past, and you're better off not speaking about them moving forward. I think it'd be more becoming with you as a free agent, and other teams will be more interested in that.
You actually made me look at it differently and better in Isaiah's favor by explaining it that way, Chris. He needs to focus on moving forward and literally play his position.
And Isaiah needs to realize that if he doesn't get fully healthy by the end of this year, he is going to almost assuredly sign a one-year prove-it deal to try to reestablish his value. If the Lakers miss out on free agents, there's no better place for him to sign that deal than in Los Angeles because they will want guys on one-year deals. This could be a great spot for him. I hope he doesn't screw it up.
Don't mess it up, Isaiah. Coming up, are the Warriors disrespecting their opponents? We'll debate it next on First Things First.
Man.